Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and the Avengers Defenders War. This was freaking insanity. This was also the first big crossover kind of comic book that went into multiple different issues of multiple different comic books. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was a wild thing in Marvel, where it's bouncing back and forth between these stories. Here, look, we got starts with Avengers number 115 and ends with Defenders issue number 11. Bounces back and forth. There's these 8 issues, I believe, in total. Yeah. This takes place starting with release date of Avengers number 115, or yeah, 115 is June 19th, 1973. The cover date is September of 1973. And then we're going to go on to Defenders issue number 8. So these 4 issues on both comic books together, the writer for all of these books was Steve Englehart. Now the artists, the various artists, and the letterers, they all changed multiple times throughout back and forth, even on the same issue. It's not like, oh, there was one set of artists for the Avengers and one set of artists for the Defenders. No, they switched back and forth all the time. You got Bob Wood, you got who's this? Oh, that's also Bob Wood, William Robert Brown, though. Mike Esposito. You got like the letters, they change all the time. Orzakowski is on here at one point. But there's so many different people on this. Buscema even jumped on this. Was it Sal? I think it was Sal. Anyway, a lot of people involved in this. But the one unifying force, besides editor Roy Thomas, which is always a very good thing, was actually Steve Englehart. Now, I don't talk a lot about Mr. Englehart, but I also don't usually go this far back in talking about some old comic book stories. Don't really have to go that far back to begin with. But this guy has got so many great stories in Marvel and DC. In fact, I'm saving this one of these days. I'll get around to doing this also. But he did the definitive Batman story, which is Batman Dark Detective 1. It's literally considered the definitive Batman story that actually brought Batman back to his dark roots, got him in the original Batman movie with Michael Keaton and all that stuff. It was based off of the story. There was a whole freaking lot going on there. One of these days I will get around to getting to that. In the meantime, all you other comic book creators who are looking at this, feel free. You know what I'm saying? Free world. And that's a really good Batman story to get into. I think that's also only like 8 issues. But amazing stuff. Anyway, guys, Steve Englehart has created so many characters. He's done so many things, so much stuff, you know? I genuinely, in my heart, I believe if you look up Englehart stories, you will see some old story that you either have read and loved or want to read and will love. Because that's just the way this guy is. He might be one of the most important people in comic books as it stands. Most people look to artists for who's the most important people. They're certainly important, but then there's the Steve Engleharts of the world. Anyway, guys, so let's get started in talking about this. This was an amazing freaking story. So earlier in the and this is going to get wild. This is going to get crazy. It's going to go back and forth all over the place. The story is basically going to start off. We're talking about issue number 8 of the Defenders after this 115 issue of the Avengers. These freaking guys, man. The Defenders existed over several iterations. They had 3 issues in a Marvel premiere. They had a couple little times where these Defenders would come together. And for the most part, the Defenders are Silver Surfer, even though it's not technically one of the originals, so to speak, kind of anyway. Silver Surfer essentially is considered the rogue 4th member until later. But you're talking about Hulk, you're talking about Namor, and you're talking about Doctor Strange. Just 3 of the absolute hands down most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. Add Silver Surfer to that, and you're talking about just pure insanity, you know? They actually had to weaken the ranks of the Defenders just because of how powerful these guys were, because Silver Surfer was in this also. Seriously, imagine a team. Imagine that. Silver Surfer, Namor, the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, and Doctor Strange. Who's going to beat that team? We've got Thor and Iron Man on this team. Not for long. You're going to have a hospital bill is what you're going to have. And the problem is the doctor is on that team. This was such a powerful team. And one of the important things to understand about this is that there was no leader on this team. The de facto leader, if you could even argue that, would be Doctor Strange, who's just, especially back in the day, is just one of the biggest freaking a-holes in the world. A guy who's almost always right, but you just hate him so much because he's such an a-hole. He has zero leadership qualities. It's just, he's usually the smartest guy in the room. Yeah. And then you just got these absolute powerhouses, typically with egos, right? Yeah, who's got less control over themselves, the Hulk or Submariner, right? When the voice of reason is the Silver Surfer, who's just like, I don't really want to be here. I want to go surfing the space waves. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the most logical voice in this team. You're doomed. You're absolutely doomed. So there's actually a term that's used in here that I don't use very. It's not in my standard vocabulary. Maybe it should be. Esprit de corps, which basically means, I want to look this up specifically to give you an understanding of what the Defenders are. So this is a feeling of pride, fellowship, and common loyalty shared by the members of a particular group. Esprit de corps. This is how you would describe the Avengers. The Defenders are specifically described as having no esprit de corps. Think about that. That's who the Defenders were. Absolute a-holes who could not be matched. That's why Dormammu is the main bad guy in here, Loki also. But Dormammu is what you had to do to actually get any kind of a fighting chance against these guys. Because too often, you're sending people against the Defenders, and they're just like, smack, smack, smack. Like, you got no chance. So my love for these stories aside, let's get talking about this comic book because holy crap, man. So the Defenders originally started off. Where's my? I have the comic book. There we go. Also want to show you this image. I'm trying to move so that you guys can have more space to see me and the images. So I'm angling my camera differently, guys. Sorry. But I want you guys to take a look at this image. Oh my gosh. Look, the 2 issues that I've already covered talking about the Marvel timeline. And they're advertised like that in this book. Well, actually in the Defenders, issue number 8, I think this was. I just want you to think about that. Marvel already knew their powerhouse stories at this point while they were being told. It's not like, yeah, when you look back, this is one of the key issues. No, they knew what they were doing the whole time. That's really impressive. Going to be a lot of diversions to this story, so let's try and get to this as quickly as possible. As far as the Avengers are concerned, issue number 115, cover price 20 cents. How you doing? So they lurk below. This is just one of the stories. They're going to start off actually pretty quickly. S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up while the Avengers are flying over top of, what do you call it, England, right? They're flying over England because they want to go and visit one of their teammates, the Black Knight. But he hasn't checked in like a month. So they're going to go in, they're going to see like, what's going on, bud? He's not answering calls like, hey, bud, are you okay, right? But as they're flying over, S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up. Remember, they're international. So these guys show up in their standard Kirby-esque layouts, right? And she's like, Avengers, go home. We don't want you here. You guys all suck. And look, you got the Scarlet Witch, a freaking mutie. She doesn't say mutie, but, you got a mutant on the team, man. What's up with that? Also, that guy right there, the swordsman, he's not welcome here. He's considered an international terrorist. And for, pretty good reasons. Namely that he's an international terrorist. He's been a bad guy for so long. It's ridiculous. The guy who trained Hawkeye, this guy's actually a really bad guy. In this particular case, though, he's reformed. But, like you say, you could take the boy out of the streets, but you can't take the streets out of the boy. Yeah, this guy's living proof of that. This guy has got the heart of a criminal. He kills somebody in this. And oh, yeah, he kills them. I don't care what anybody says. He kills this mofo. Not in this issue, but we're getting there. All right. So he's like, this guy's not even allowed here. The Avengers are like, hey, I thought that, since he's with us, our word would be good enough that he's reformed. And Cap has been saying for a long time, he says in this issue also that he's the one who doesn't agree with bringing the swordsman in later. That kind of comes to a full head after this story is done, but it does get addressed at some point. But Cap, he's not feeling too good about the swordsman being on here, but he does have a sort of a backdrop in the sense of, yeah, I'd rather him be here where I can keep an eye on him than out there where whatever, right? These guys, there's a little bit of reminiscing about what's been going on lately, the stuff with Magneto and all this crazy stuff. They run up to the door to find. I don't know why they're running. They run up to the door to see what's going on of Avengers Castle, Garrett Castle, where the Black Knight is, and they crash into an invisible wall. Like, what the frick is going on here? Thor goes and throws his hammer. Man, this guy's hammer, like, it's not as good as we'd like to think it is. It can't break through the walls of Adelan, and it can't break through this frickin' thing either. I'm saying, not cool. Now, in reality, it should be able to break through this because Doctor Strange actually put the shield up. It's funny that Swordsman goes and does one of his cutting rays and it almost hits Captain America, who I just got to finish saying has had problems with the Knight. Vision tries to go intangible and goes through it, doesn't work. What do you call it? It's actually Wanda who tries to get through the damn wall, but really can't. Mantis actually says, let me try and imagine what's going on here and empathy and, all I can tell is that someone named Doctor Strange put this thing up. And so they're just like, what's going on here? Basically, for the rest of this issue, they get attacked by troglodytes. This is actually not such a bad story. I actually like this. Way back in the day, there was a whole bunch of just basic people running around in England, and the local sheriff and the heads of the castle, whatever. It's freaking jackasses. They're running around and like, yeah, you guys can't be here. They're threatening them. They're going to do bad things to these people. So these people go and hide in caves and underground and all sorts of stuff. And they're just trying to live, and they're afraid to come out. So they're actually inbreeding with each other, generation after generation after generation. They don't realize that civilization has actually happened, and at this point, they don't have passports, and they have no, DNA, no fingerprints, nothing, right? So they're troglodytes, and they've got massive superstitions and all sorts of crazy stuff. So they're giving a hard time to these guys. They have some kind of a skeletal lobster-looking monster. They send against the Avengers and stuff. It's really freaking weird stuff, okay? I enjoyed this, but it's some really weird stuff. And now eventually they got to couple into society, and it's the weirdest freaking thing in the world, but it is what it is. We're about to jump over to the Defenders issue because we already did most of what's going to happen here, but there's a prologue in this, like an after credit scene that's actually going to explain what's about to happen now to a degree. So in the early part of the Defenders, these guys showed up because they had to fight a common enemy again, right? And at one point, they get sent back in time. And they come across Avalon and all this some area that's, like Avalon, Merlin the Magician, and all sorts of crazy stuff going on, right? And the Executioner is there, the friend of the Enchantress, right? He's got a helmet on. You can tell right away who this guy is. I mean, no, he doesn't have a helmet on in this one. In another one, he has a helmet on. There's a lot with the Executioner in this. Anyway, he's wearing his helmet. There's no helmet. There's no helmet. He's got his stupid haircut, right? One of the best deaths in all of Marvel, all right? But for now, he's a freaking bad guy. And he wound up getting under control of this chick who's in charge of this nation. She's magic. She's got just as equal magic as the Enchantress, except she had like an advantage over her and stuff. It is what it is. Enchantress and Black Knight got thrown in prison, and they go to try and find, hey, what's going on here? And she's like, oh, well, we need to get out of here, and I see that you've got this woman with you, this barber woman. Hey, remember when I made that Valkyrie chick? Well, I could still make the Valkyrie chick. I'll just put her inside of this person. So it's a new version of Valkyrie, and it's the most popular version of Valkyrie in the comics. Not really too interested with that one Westworld chick who's currently playing in the movies Valkyrie. But this Brunhilde, this is the modern known version of Valkyrie. And she shows up and she's just kicking some butt and taking some names and smacking some people around. This is prior to Defenders issue number 8. I'm going off of memory by this, so excuse me if I get something just a little tweaked. Anyway, at one point they're able to go off and they're able to actually escape from the prison and fight and kick some butt and take some names literally. And they're able to free the executioner. Now, Dane Whitman didn't want to help Enchantress, but she kisses him. Remember, nobody can really save him because they all got captured, right? And he's in a different jail cell with her than the rest of the Defenders are. And she kisses him. We know the Enchantress's kiss, I mean, it's in her name. She enchants him, and he's got to follow her, much like with the Executioner. But she was just using him. Once she's got her Executioner back, she's not interested in Dane Whitman, the Black Knight, anymore. And he's pissed off. He's like, hey, lady, don't you know, like, I'm the one who's going to be with you. You don't get to choose him. Well, she decides to turn him to stone. So that's how Black Knight got turned into stone in this particular thing. This whole thing is about the Defenders trying to find a way to get him unturned from stone. So she leaves with the Executioner. It says F the Valkyrie. Valkyrie joins the Defenders and actually takes the Black Knight's ebony blade. And it's so funny, like ever since the creation of this character, everybody else uses his blade except for him. There's no real reason for him to use it, except one time in Avengers Siege, but we'll get to that one of these days. That's a really good, it's not really an event, but I loved it. So, and she also takes Aragorn, his winged horse that he genetically created. You know what? Screw that. 10 things about Black Knight, explained in a minute. Go look that up. I made it. It's a good video, right? So that's so once that happened, Doctor Strange put up this big barrier over Garrett Castle and said, we're gonna make it so nobody can come in here and mess with stuff, including the lit brazier and all that stuff. And I'm gonna take Dane Whitman back to the Sanctum Sanctorum with me. That happened before this issue of the Avengers 115. So the prologue of Avengers 115 is here's Loki falling, and he's about to be dashed on the rocks below, and he's blind, by the way. Ah, Christ, you want to know about that, don't you? Okay. So anyway, at not the Avengers special, that was something different that happened. What the hell is this? At one point, this is in Thor. This is a special Haunted Halloween issue of Thor, issue number 207. Also a 20-cent cover price, so it's around the same time. The front cover of this is freaking great. Satan, Diablo, strike in the name of Loki. That's the name of these freaking wolves. I don't even remember if the wolves were named in the book, but on the front cover, Satan and Diablo. There we go, man. Why not Los Lobos? Were they not around? Add an extra wolf, right? Have Los Lobos go in there. They could be like, and bite them. And some of you are going to get that joke and laugh your asses off. The rest of you are like, this guy's an idiot. I'll take either one. So this was actually a really cool issue. It's funny. Thor and Loki are fighting in the same place that... Oh, crap. 2 other people were fighting in this. Oh, Doctor Strange and, what's his face? Dormammu. Same place that they were fighting not too long ago. So that's the only time they've ever been used, someplace in Illinois. I forget what area it is, but it's the only 2 times that this place in Illinois has been used in Marvel Comics, which... That just it's a little bit of trivia there. That's funny. It was both around the same time. They forgot that this place existed. So issue number 207 of the Mighty Thor, the special Haunted Halloween issue. This is probably the best. I'm not joking about this. Probably the best Thor versus Loki, brother versus brother story out there. So issue number 207 of the Mighty Thor. I highly recommend it. at one point, in order for Thor to get this enchanted sword away from Loki, he's got to call down the lightning, got to thunder and all that, right? And Loki winds up being blinded by this lightning. So I'm not saying that's like one of the coolest things in the world, but that's one of the coolest things in the world. So Loki, as he's about to fall and get dashed on the rocks, gets summoned and teleported to the dark dimension by Dormammu. I did mention that Doctor Strange and Dormammu just fought recently in the same place. Well, this was the fight. I believe this was the fight. Excuse me, where I didn't go and refresh my memory on this one, where he battled. I think this was the one with the pincers of memory, whatever it's called, the little pincers, where he was using his martial arts. See, there's a face rip reference for you, and he basically judo through Dormammu with these things, and Dormammu had his also. And Strange was just a better hand-to-hand combatant than Dormammu was, which was the strangest thing in the world, but it is what it is. Whatever. He was trained by the monks of Tibet. There we go. It wasn't an eidetic memory that made him awesome. It was all this other stuff. So anyway, he said to Dormammu, like, okay, the bargain is if I win, you can't invade the Earth dimension anymore. You are not allowed to come into the Earth dimension anymore. So boom, that's it. You're not allowed to invade anymore. Like, that's it. You're done. It's like, all right, fine. F you. He got his butt beat, and he's got to keep his promise because he's mystically sealed, right? That's part of the bargain. So he brings Loki, and he's just like, hey, man, I'm going to need your help with doing some stuff. There's this thing called the Evil Eye. Ah, crap. I got to explain the freaking Evil Eye. Okay. So back in Fantastic Four, issue number 54, that's the first appearance of Prester John. Now, I could sit here and explain who Prester John is, but I'd rather just tell you the issue where Prester John started and recommend that you check out the new video that I just put up prior to this, 10 Things About Prester John Explained in a Minute. Because I knew I was going to be doing this story and that was going to be kind of important. Prester John is actually a really freaking awesome character. Until Fabian Nicienza, whatever the frick his name is, went and got a hold of it. And he's got to make fun of everything. So this really amazing character who wind up, instead of calling it the Evil Eye, he started calling it like the shaft, the man shaft of something. I forget what it was. Just so dumb. He made it into a sexual joke. Come on. I don't want to know what you do in your free time, dude. Anyway, so he used this thing called the Evil Eye. Wyatt Wigfoot with an energy weapon wound up destroying this thing, but it can't truly be destroyed. So instead, it got separated into 6 different pieces. And you guys are going to look and it's like all these pieces look the same. Yes, but they're all different sizes, so they actually fit into each other like the Russian nesting dolls, like that. That's actually the way that it goes together. And then this thing is like the Super MacGuffin. It's like the Cosmic Cube or the Infinity Gauntlet, like that one. Except I don't have a... You know what? Why didn't they make a freaking Evil Eye? I should use this thing more often. I would get an Evil Eye and try and get Steve Englehart to sign it. I'm just saying. It is what it is. So anyway, this comic book is happening. So all this crazy stuff is happening with this thing. It got separated and all over the place. So you got to find all 6 of these pieces of the Evil Eye and then put them together, and then you can use it. And then what Dormammu wants to do is he wants to use the Evil Eye to amplify his own powers and cause the dark dimension to expand and actually go into several other realms, including the Earth realm, in which case now he won't be breaking his promise by invading the Earth realm. Hey, his territory just naturally expanded. So now the Earth realm is a part of the dark dimension. I know. Real tasty little nugget there. There's going to be more to do with this, but he decides, you know what, let me try and get these defenders. These guys don't get there. They're powerful enough that they can find this stuff and they can get back here and they can bring this thing back here to me. And it doesn't say exactly what's going on here, but basically at some point he's going to say, we're going to get these defenders to go out there and they're going to get these pieces for us, and we're going to use the Black Knight because their big thing is trying to restore the Black Knight. We're going to use him to get them to bring these parts back. I'll get into that in a hot minute. For now, let's move on to and why does Loki want to help him? Dormammu can restore his eyesight. I'm saying that's probably a big deal. So, Defenders issue number 8, the second issue in the story. If Atlantis should fall. Now, this also is going to start. This is actually going to start with its own thing right now. Hawkeye is in this, and Hawkeye and Brunhilde, the Valkyrie, have to fight against Submariner, who's being mentally controlled at this point by the Red Ghost. Oh, Christ. You know what? I've got the 10 things about the Red Ghost explained in a minute, and also his 3 super apes. Well, the super apes aren't in this, all right? But you can go and check out who the Red Ghost is. You guys wonder sometimes, why do I do these little characters, these innocuous characters that nobody cares about, right? I care about the Red Ghost. What's more than that, because I know I'm going to be doing these stories eventually. So this way it's an easier explanation. So, boom, Red Ghost is in this. Go check out 10 things about the Red Ghost explained in a minute for more on him. So, these two have to try and rescue Submariner from this thing because he's a ridiculous powerhouse who's just going to wreck everybody. This is part of a story that happened before this. Silver Surfer actually gets into it with the Hulk at one point. Like, there's some stuff happening here, all right? There's some stuff happening. And they get to a point where they're able to beat the bad guys. They have to go against Atuma really quick. And then they get into chapter 1, which, so I guess the previous was the end of chapter 2. So chapter 1 indicating whole new story here. And they're showing Doctor Strange has the Black Knight, the stone form of the Black Knight in the Sanctum Sanctorum. So he goes and sends a magical telepathic. Remember, he's got an ability to use telepathy and whatnot, but he's got to use magic to use telepathy. It's not like how Doctor Strange does this thing. So he's going to send a telepathic message to the Black Knight, and he's going to wait for a response like, hey, do you have any idea, where are you and how can I help to get your soul back to your body and get rid of the stone stuff? What do I have to do? Do you have any idea? Well, Black Knight says, I have no freaking idea, man. But anyway, I'm here. I'm pretty safe. And I'm just being patient when I knew you guys were trying to rescue me, and I trust that you guys are going to be okay. So the message starts coming back. Well, this is where Dormammu goes and intercepts the thing. And here's the major thing where he needs Loki. Loki, as I've mentioned many times before, his most powerful ability is not his magic, which in many ways is actually much more powerful than Doctor Strange's. That Asgardian magic is something else. But he's got the power to implant a suggestion. It's not like mind control. It's not like anything else. The ability to plant a suggestion is not just forcing someone to do something against their will or even possessing them. It's about making them believe that this idea, this one word or so concept, is aligning with their values. So it's something that you're actually changing their personality, who they are. And for the most part, it's permanent. Very much unlike mind control, which is temporary, and possession, which is probably even more temporary, albeit more effective. So he's got a plan. So he's going to use his power of suggestion and actually add something and change the message from the Black Knight back to Doctor Strange. Thing that he says is, hey, there's this evil eye thing, and that's the only thing that if you get the evil eye and connect all the pieces together and bring it, it will amplify your power enough to actually save me. So that's all you got to do. You got to get the evil eye. That's it. That's all it takes. And the Defenders like, okay, let's go. That little part, that's all it was in this issue of the Defenders. We're going to bounce back over to the Avengers, issue number 116. It's called Chapter 2, The Betrayal. So the Avengers are trying to go to Doctor Strange, the Sanctum Sanctorum, and all of a sudden they get thrown up into the air. They've got to rescue themselves and bring themselves back down. Thor's ticked. He's banging on the freaking door. He's blamming on the door. Wong shows up and is like, oh, hi. Yeah, sorry. I'm the manservant here, but Doctor Strange is busy right now. Come back later. Glad you guys are okay. Bye. And Thor gets pissed off and just straight out destroys the freaking door to the Sanctum Sanctorum. Ah, crap. So now Wong's like, I'm a kung fu you ass. And Manta's like, no, I'm a kung fu yo ass. And she's actually about to win, but then everybody gets whooshed right out the door just as Captain America sees the Black Knight is in there. It's a statue form, but you can't tell that. It's a freaking silhouette. It was very brief. So they get thrown out. And you figure these guys can go back in and kick some butt, right? No. Thor's just like waving his fist in the air. I'll get you one day. It's one of those things like this always happens, but I really like the way this happens. The hero says, I'm too busy to explain something to you. So violence. And that works best with Doctor Strange, better than any other hero, basically. Maybe with the Hulk too, but hey, he happens to be on the same team. Submariner too. Hey! So Thor's just waving his fist in the air. It's like, screw you, man. So they're recapping the Prester John Human Torch story, Adeline, the separation, the stuff that I told you before. So Doctor Strange says, all of you guys go out there and find these pieces. And by all of you guys, Silver Surfer, Hulk, Namor, Valkyrie, and Hawkeye. The first person who comes back, Doctor Strange will then go out and get the 6th piece, right? So that's all the pieces right there. But Doctor Strange is going to stay at home for the most part. You already saw how Valkyrie got on this team. How did Hawkeye get on this team? Well, I may have mentioned that this stuff actually goes around. Hawkeye had wound up quitting the Defenders or the Avengers at one point because he wanted to go on his own because he's Hawkeye and he's kind of a jackass and he's a hothead and he thinks a lot higher of himself than a guy who's got trick arrows probably should. He went and he got into it with the Hulk. Not really, not directly. That wouldn't have lasted very long. But Zax was there. And it's Hawkeye who was actually able to beat Zax, not the Hulk. And it was pretty cool the way he did it. Feel free to go and read it. I forget what the issue is. I forget if they even say it here, but I know how to go back and find things. So I think they actually said it in here at one point. Honestly, I apologize, guys. I did have it ready, and somehow I guess I must have closed it for some reason. That's my bad. But it was like 2 issues he was in there. Realistically, 1 issue where he was majorly in there. So this explains how he kind of followed Hulk back to the whole Defenders thing. So anyway, Strange, the way he leads. This is stuff you have to do. Okay, go. Be gone! Freaking jerk. Oh, close to saying Indiana. Yes, they go back to Indiana for this thing. So Loki starts to get the feeling that Dormammu, who's just watching all this stuff, isn't going to help him. He's not going to restore his eyesight. He already got what he wanted from Loki for the most part. Now he just wants somebody to witness his awesomeness, right? It's just like, I'm busy. Don't talk to me now with your whining. So Loki's just like, okay, can't do this. So he travels down when Dormammu's busy doing something else. He travels down sneakily. Dormammu doesn't realize this. And he shows up to Captain America and the rest of the Avengers. Thor's in there also. And he's like, hey, listen, I got to tell you guys something. And they're going after him. He's just like, please stop. I can't see. I can't fight you. I'm really scared. And because he's a sniveling bad guy. He's your typical heel. I love that. And he explains, hey, and while he's in the middle of saying it, he's like, okay, so Dormammu sent the Defenders to go and do stuff. And he's like, I can't say my part in this because 1, they're not going to believe me, and 2, they're probably going to beat me up, and I don't really want to get beaten up. It's just like, so I found out about this plot, and he tricked the Defenders into doing this stuff, and they're actually bad guys. Yeah, you know these guys. They're all bad guys anyway, right? Hulk and Namor, like, you guys are fighting them all the time, and Doctor Strange, I mean, he doesn't want to talk to you guys. It's because he's a bad guy and stuff. And Hawkeye, oh, didn't he leave your team? And Brunhilde, who hates men, and Silver Surfer is silver. Anyway, so that's the deal. He tries to trick them, and it works. It works. The thing is, both teams have been tricked. So these guys go out and they go their separate ways to go after things. And basically the first battle that we're going to see is the Vision and Scarlet Witch going up to try and stop the Silver Surfer from getting that piece of the the Evil Eye. Now, of course, Silver Surfer is the fastest freaking thing in existence outside of Nightcrawler, who teleports. And he gets there super quick. And he's been searching for hours around this place in, I think this is in South America, whatever. It's someplace that doesn't actually exist. And there's these people who are like worshiping. He's like, stop worshiping me. You guys are freaking weird, man. And all of a sudden they mention the volcano. And he turns to look up. Of course, the one place I didn't look is probably in the volcano. So he flies up and he goes into the volcano and starts looking around. Obviously, you can't see inside of magma. So he starts like shooting things, trying to get parts to burst, hoping that the Evil Eye is going to, that fragment of it is going to boop, pop up and he like yoink. In the meantime, Vision and Scarlet Witch show up. Yeah, these two love each other so much. They're all lovey-dovey and stuff. But anyway, they're not doing all that stuff in here. And what do you call it? The volcano actually bada boom. It doesn't bada boom. It's not the Fifth Element. It goes Bratoom. The winds of Bratoom. Forget about Watum. We got Bratoom here. And the ship, the Quinjet that what's her name is in, Scarlet Witch, it breaks. So Vision is like, I gotta go rescue her, and he goes to rescue her, and then he sees the Silver Surfer up there, and he gets emotional. Vision, because you just hurt the woman I love. He flies up and boom, slams into him and starts pounding the crap out of him, and Silver Surfer's trying to use the board because this onslaught is so rough, and they're going back and forth, and the volcano starts actually erupting. Lava starts coming out. Well, these two of the villagers, at least, came up to try and follow the Silver Surfer. Because like, let's see where this god went. And they see the volcanoes going. It's like, oh no, we've got to do a sacrifice in order to save ourselves. And hey, let's do an easy sacrifice. Here's this unconscious chick wearing all red with really nice boobs. I said what I said. Let's put her in the path of this lava, and then it'll kill her, and that'll be our sacrifice. And we don't have to lose any of our own people. You really think that's going to work, bud? That is not how you appease the gods. All you got to do is go ask that freaking monkey guy from Madagascar. Anyway, more on that later. Not really. So all of a sudden, the piece of the Evil Eye pops up, and they both start going at it. But while they're going at it, that's when all of a sudden the Vision notices the Scarlet Witch in the path of the lava. So he abandons the piece of the Evil Eye and goes to rescue her while Silver Surfer flies off. I like that they mentioned here that what's his name? Vision is not going to be able to catch up to Silver Surfer. His flight is nowhere near as fast because all he does is he goes intangible and he starts flying. That's why I don't understand how he's able to carry the Scarlet Witch in this. Yeah, see how that works? I'm just saying, if nobody got a no prize for this, I freaking demand a no prize. Like, no, wait, you have to actually explain how such and such worked. Okay. He flies as fast as he can and then turns as solid as he needs to, as minimalistically solid as he needs to, in order to be able to actually grab her, mostly using inertia to do that, just so he can get her away from the path of the lava. And then he's just going to turn solid and boom, land. But his muscles, synthesoid muscles, able to lift 50 tons over his head without too much of a strain, that's going to cause him to land and keep her safe with his internal stabilizations and human mimicry of balance and stuff like that. So I would really like a no prize for that. No prizes in the comments, please. So anyway, that's the end of this issue. We're now going to bounce over to the Defenders issue number 9. Look out, Iron Man. Hawkeye's got friends. Well, you don't have to worry about those friends. It's going to be Hawkeye versus Iron Man in this. And if you think for 1 second that the second most powerful character in the Avengers is going to be able to wipe the floor with Hawkeye, don't forget, in Tales of Suspense, where Hawkeye made his debut, that he started off by fighting against Iron Man. So at the behest of the evil at the time, Black Widow, I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying, it's not that Hawkeye was so powerful back then, it's that Iron Man was so weak back then. So anyway, the Silver Surfer returns, he's like, hey, and there's some bad guys here, just saying. And he's like, do you want me to go to the next place? Like, no, I said I'll go and I'll go. Stop being a silver butthead, jerk. You know who the jerk is. Don't call the Silver Surfer a jerk. You're the jerk. So he flies off to go and handle business. While he's flying out there, Iron Man versus Hawkeye the Archer, the Invincible Iron Man. Hawkeye's getting a ride on the back of Aragorn with right behind Brunhilde. Doctor Strange's head pops up and warns them, "Hey, this is what's going to happen." Little sidebar on this: what happens in here is Hawkeye. What's her name? Brunhilde seems to be mildly interested in Hawkeye. It's like, "Hey, be careful! I won't want anything to happen to you." He's like, get over here, girl," and plants a fat, wet smooch on her mouth. She pulls out the ebony blade, like we're talking ebony curse here, the curse of the black blade, the blood curse. Freaking goes to lop off like Vorpal style, lop off Hawkeye's head. Clint almost got decapitated by Brunhilde. Like, if he didn't duck, she would have killed him. He's like, "Hey, I was just messing. I'm not going to say I'm sorry because how you doing, Hot Lips? But, hey, knock it off, all right? I didn't mean it like all that." And she's like, "Well, Bika, you should be sorry. And goodbye." But she's got like this coy smile on her face like, "That was a good kiss, babe. I wonder what else you can do." In the meantime, it's like, you just try to take off his head. What's he going to do then? Psycho? Freaking comics, man. Anyway, so Hawkeye sees Iron Man flying overhead. Iron Man doesn't see him. So Iron Man shows up. He sees this dude. They're doing their little translator stuff with his suit. And this guy just goes and hands the piece of the evil eye to him. But then all of a sudden a clank, grappling hook style, whatever, freaking arrow comes by. Hawkeye starts firing at Iron Man as soon as he comes out this window going after him. He's just boom, 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 boom. And for real, Iron Man barely has a chance. Because mind you, he's trying to hold back, right? He goes and he hits Hawkeye. I don't know about almost kills him, but almost kills him. Hawkeye goes and takes an acid arrow and just cracks Iron Man on the head with it. It starts eating through his freaking armor. Look, I'm not saying that Iron Man is weak, but I do remember in issue number 3 of Avengers, I had to go back and read that one for this story also, just to refresh my memory. More on that later. Hulk fought Iron Man and took a cactus and went like this with the cactus and fired off a bunch of needles at him like he was the original porcupine. And Iron Man, instead of going, "Iron will protect me," he goes and picks up a freaking flat rock and he's just like, "Ah! Captain America, please help me." Not really, but kind of. He's hiding behind a rock. A rock had better armor than Iron Man. In Avengers number 3. I just want you to think about that. Just for a moment. Anyway, so these guys are going at it, and eventually, what do you call it? Iron Man just keeps on like bam, bam, bam. But Hawkeye's amazing. And he's able to actually screw over Iron Man, who's trying to shoot at him. Fires the arrow up, bang, hits him. Iron Man accidentally hits this building. He goes in there to start rescuing some people. Hawkeye snatches the freaking thing and runs away. He's of the unscrupulous type. The very next story, which is also in the same book, is Doctor Strange versus both Black Panther and Mantis. Yeah, they still don't stand a chance. So the best part about this entire series is seeing Black Panther speed walking. I think this is in Nebraska or something like this, because there's a lot of freaking corn. No, it's Indiana, close enough. There's a lot of corn around here, and these two are just speed walking along. Stupidest freaking thing. But that's just the way they were drawn, whatever it is, what it is. And they see Doctor Strange, so they go up and try and, catch up to him. Doctor Strange already finds the freaking evil eye, though, because he uses magic to do that, and these guys don't have magic. So there's a bunch of farmers hanging around. They're like, what's going on? What's going on? And all of a sudden a bus shows up, by where they're following them. And this lady is trying to get on the bus. Kind of sounds like a scene out of that Captain Marvel movie. And Mantis goes up and kicks this chick. Well, it turns out that's actually Iron Man. Doctor Strange. Iron Man. Turns out that's Doctor Strange. He was trying to use one of his spells. And he's not trying to wipe the floor with these guys. He's just trying to get away. They won't let him get away. He uses cloak of levitation, starts flying off someplace, levitating off someplace. Black Panther goes and does a bunch of super jumps, bouncing off of freaking silos and tackles and kicks freaking Doctor Strange in the face and the gut. He's whooping this dude's ass. Doctor Strange's like, man, get off of me, fool. Freaking what's his name starts falling. He honestly could have just let Black Panther fall. Why? Because the suit is laced with vibranium, and even back then it was known that it absorbs vibration. So he could have fallen at almost any height. I don't know if terminal velocity, if that would have been too high, but close enough at least to terminal velocity, which he didn't come anywhere near here. And he could have landed on his feet and been fine. But Doctor Strange didn't know that. And they don't really express that in here. Is that worth a no prize? And he goes and catches his arm. And he's just like, oh my God, I don't want you to die. Black Panther, not missing a beat. He's like, oh, okay. I don't care if you live or die. Here's my foot in your chin, fool. Kicks him right, pow, right in the face. He can't take any chance. This guy comes out and starts trying to take some shots at him with a shotgun. Mantis comes running up, and this is I don't know if this is speed walking also, but it doesn't necessarily look like it. She comes charging up and boom, pushes everybody out the way. Black Panther actually does wind up getting shot, but just a little bit.
Just a flesh wound.
She goes after Doctor Strange. He's trying to do his kung fu jujitsu thingy. He can't, not as well, but he goes and he magics them, and then he takes the evil eye and he F's right the heck off. We're going to move on to Avengers number 117. First, I want to mention, this is an unpaid advertisement because it's me. This is my book. This is my book. If you want to get your hands on this book, it's more than 300 riddles. How I make riddles. These are all original riddles. Also, you're not going to find these anyplace else. I'd be surprised if you found these anyplace else. These are literally my riddles that I've done just for shits and giggles and for role-playing games. And that's really what I made this book for, so you can put a riddle in every role-playing game that you do, because that's a really good way to, like for a part of a puzzle and things like that, to really like screw somebody over. And here's a way that you can roll the dice or not roll the dice and find a way to add something like, solve this riddle. This is something that like people are going to remember in their role-playing games when you add riddles. Anybody who does this, which you should anyway, like there are two components that usually aren't done in role-playing games anymore. Besides all the action, all that stuff, you should have a trap and you should have a riddle, right? But those are the two hardest things to do. So people usually ixnay on both of them, especially the riddle. Here is more than 300 riddles, where my inspiration came from over, since I was 14 of making riddles for role-playing games, every single one I've ever been in. And then besides how to actually make the riddles, the answers are actually all in the back. So you can try and figure out the riddles for yourself and then check to see if you were right or wrong by looking in the back. And this is going to be a really cool Kickstarter that's going to start on the 1st of September. There's going to be early bird special for the people who show up first. There's going to be a special tier that only the early birds are going to be able to get on. So if you're one of the first people to jump on the Kickstarter, it's going to be something special you can do. I'll actually handwrite a riddle for you. You give me a word or two, maybe, and as long as it's within reason, as long as it's not like particularly profane, and as long as it's not like, making fun of somebody or something that would get me in trouble, then I'm more than happy to make a riddle around that. Those books will take a little bit longer to do because they do actually have to create the riddle for that. But yeah, anyway, and you're going to get either a digital or a physical copy, your choice. But this is, I'm telling you, this is the first book that I'm actually putting out in the world. There's going to be a whole bunch more coming out soon, I hope. But this is going to be my first Kickstarter. And I'm really looking forward to this getting funded and moving on. It's not even going to be that much, but it is what it is. I'll ship to any place in the world. The shipping is going to be included in the thing. So when you click on the price and then you say, okay, how much is shipping going to be? 0, because it's going to be included in the thing. If you're getting a physical copy, it's going to be included in the thing. I found a way through a company to use the exact same price to ship any place in the world because it's going to be done through them, not through me. So there you go. Anyway, guys, go and check out the links below, pinned comment, and a link in the description box. This book. when this is AI art on the cover and there's 6 AI arts on the inside, I would actually like to replace them by some of my comic book friends doing that AI, doing real art. Yes, real art. But I have to pay them to do it. It's going to cost a couple of pennies. So if I get higher tier levels in this at certain points, I will mention, hey, you get me up to this tier, and I'm going to hire somebody else to replace some of the art inside the book. Anyway, guys, fantastic book. I look forward to this Kickstarter actually starting and everything that I got planned in the future with my role playing and book writing and whatnot. I think you guys are really going to be excited, hopefully just about this book alone, but about more things that I got coming up also. I'm going to take care of y'all. Love you guys. All right, so back to this book. We've got issue number, what are we on here? Issue number 117 of the Avengers. By this point, Dormammu sees that the Avengers are joining up and like, did you do something? He's like, no, I didn't. I was with you the whole time and I'm blind. He's like, yeah, that's true. You couldn't have possibly done anything. Stupid. So Swordsman versus the Valkyrie. This was actually a really fun one. This was a really fun one. Swordsman really wanted to go to this place in South America because he's got beef with them. Go read. It's actually called Avengers Special, but the Avengers Special is really just their first annual. So Avengers Annual #1. That's I don't know which way you're going to be able to find that, but that's what it actually is. If you go on the Marvel database, it's going to be Avengers Volume 1 Annual #1. So you'll find it that way. As far as finding it on eBay, either one. So anyway, go to your local comic book shop. There's a chance that they can have it. So Swords was like, I got beef with South America. Why? Because he was a bad guy and he was trying to kill the leader there and do all sorts of things and overthrow the government of the most powerful government in South America to ruin the morale of the world. He was a bad guy. He's like, I got beef with them. Screw you, swordsman. That's what I'm saying. He's still got the heart of a bad guy, right? So he's flying in and he sees this castle where he's supposed to be. And he's like, what the heck? This is actually of German design. And he would know, right? This is the kind of stuff that he would know. He's like, that's really weird. Probably some old, probably one of the Nazis who fled, over there. They came over here. Interesting that we knew about this all that time. Think about this. Comic book came out in what, 72, 73? Something along those lines. They knew about this before I was even born, that Nazis were going over there. I know there's the one, the Nazi hunter. I don't know if he's still alive, but those are actually good stories. And I'm not talking about comic books. A real-life guy called the Nazi hunter who went and found all these old Nazi generals who actually killed Jewish people or ordered Jewish people and gays and gypsies to be killed. And it's like, wow, that's freaking crazy. He actually went and found these people, brought them back to trial in Israel. I'm saying that's pretty freaking wild. That's cool. So Valkyrie shows up and knocks the freaking jet out of the air, makes it, land. Swordsman shows up at the front gate. She doesn't come down to follow suit. Swordsman has to walk the rest of the way, goes up and sees this guy in the castle, the guy that owns the castle, apparently. He talks about how, yes, there used to be Nazis here. He's blonde hair, blue eyes, but that's the way that Marvel Comics always did all of their characters, all their men. They're all freaking blonde. So, aside from like Peter and Reed. Anyway, so he's just like, hey, so, I'm with the Avengers. Is there anybody else in here besides you? No, there's not. It's just me. He's like, well, you don't mind if I come in and check, right? And he forces his way in and runs upstairs. And actually, he gets invited in, but like he runs upstairs unbidden. And he sees Valkyrie looking through a treasure chest full of gold and stuff. What? So these two are fighting. They start going out with each other. And it's actually a really good fight. Is this the best of the fights? It's up there. Like, it's unfair to ask that, but I guess I asked it technically. Really freaking good fight in this one. She's so much stronger than him, but he is so skilled that he's wiping the floor with her. Seriously, like that. Because it's swashbuckling stuff, and she's trying to get away, and he's arrow flinting it, and she doesn't know what to do against this guy. He's kicking her sorry butt. All of a sudden, the guy that owns the castle came in and shot the Black Knight. He's not actually going to die. His wounds aren't that bad, but it was bad enough that he actually, and this is a man's man, not the Black Knight, the swordsman. This is a man's man. So when he says, "I think I'm about to die," he meant it. He got shot in the back and by this energy weapon. Paz, it says. And he's just laying there. He had the freaking evil eye, right? So she walks, and she goes and she's like, "Oh my God, what the heck?" Black Knight, like I said, this guy's a macho man. He doesn't leave anybody else to handle it. He turns around, and here it is, stabs this dude right in the chest. I don't care if somebody says he might not have died or whatnot. This dude got stabbed in the chest by the Black Knight's sword. F that. This dude is worm food at this point. He did this, mind you, because he was trying to find the Nazis' treasures and stuff like that. And he didn't want anybody to know that the Nazi treasure was still in here. He wanted to keep it for himself. This is what he was living off of, you know? And boom, there you go. So anyway, Black Knight's laying there and he's about to die. She's pointing out, no, or the authorities come in and see that, no, we'll be fine, because they came because they didn't get a phone call, but they saw the Quinjet, go down over there. So anyway, she yoinks the evil eye and she's able to get away. And he gets EMT help. Like, no, you're going to be okay. Let's go. Now we're going to switch over to Captain America versus the Submariner. They indicated that they'd fought before in Avengers number 4. The Avengers fought against Hulk and Namor, but I didn't see these two actually get into it with each other. Like, maybe this happened at some point in like issue 5 versus the Lava Men, because I think they were involved in that also, but whatever it is, this is the first time that we actually see Captain America and Namor have a fight with each other. Chronologically, there'll be more back in the Invaders and stuff like that, but in real time, our time, this was the first issue. I'm just saying. These two go at it. Namor's standing on top of this freaking, he's standing on top of a Shinto display. With the Shinto religion, they have those bars, like the wooden things. Those are actually gates, right, is what they are. And they say that when you pass through one of these, this is like passing through a challenge in your life. So you have to pass through a whole bunch of these to get to the actual temple to pray. All of the challenges in your life, the strife and whatnot. Really interesting. I love the idea of the Shinto religion. Anyway, it's godless and heavenless. So there's that. I think it's heavenless. Much like, yeah, it's a derivative of Zen Buddhism, which there's no heaven. There's only nirvana, which is different. So he's standing on top of this thing talking about, I've got this thing. I'm probably going to go have a drink out of it. F you. Or maybe I'll turn into a goldfish bowl. Ha ha ha. And Captain America's like, man, give me that thing. He's like, you want to fight? Because I'll fight you for it. He's like, yeah, let's go. So he flies down and he's just like, yeah, everybody get back. You want to do something? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Look, I respect you because you were in World War II. You're the only other hero who's still from World War II like me. Something with me, I'll whoop your ass. I will beat you down. Yeah, what you gonna do, fool? Captain America's like, man, wank. He does it says clam. I would imagine it's more one of the Avengers movie sounds that he does. Wank, one of those. But anyway, that's what he does. He goes and wails on the dude. Just backhands him with the freaking shield. Namor is just like, splat. I almost died when I saw that. He turns around, he goes and boop, whops him. Captain America's tough. He goes and he takes like a big old freaking billboard. Boop. These dudes are going blow for blow with each other. Is Captain America that strong? Listen, here's the thing. Oh, crap. I got to explain this one also. Here we go. Okay, so way back in the Wayback Machine in Captain America, Volume 1, issue number 158, which was in 73. So very recent to the time that this Avengers and Defenders War came out. Issue number 158 of Captain America wound up getting super strength. All right? He was always as strong as a human is possibly capable of being, but in this, he got what would be the equivalent of like incredible 40 strength or so. Face rip stuff, right? The ability to lift like 10 tons over his head or so. Maybe it was 20 tons. They never really went into it. And this actually lasted for 5 years, all right, from 158 up until issue number 218, because it was pretty soon that that Jack Kirby would come back to the comics, the Mad Bomb and all that stuff. And he didn't want Captain America to have the super strength anymore. He's like, I'm going to come back. I'm going to do the Captain America comic. What is this? You got him having super strength? Get rid of that crap for me, all right? I don't feel like having to deal with that nonsense. I'm just going to ignore it, all right? So actually get rid of it for me. So they did. You're welcome. I don't even know who I'm thanking. Because Jack don't care. So anyway, these guys, so it's actually mentioned in here that he's got the super strength and whatnot, but it's nowhere near what Namor can do. I would like to point out, for anybody who's sleeping on Namor and the Hulk fought each other. Was it in issue number 3 of the Avengers? I think it was. I think it was in issue number 3. Hulk and Namor got into a fight with each other, and they went toe-to-toe until Hulk made the mistake of dropping them both in water, at which point Namor wiped the damn seafloor with the Hulk. Guys, don't sleep on Namor. He's a badass. And there might be a fin back there someplace, but that fin is a bad fin. All right? It's a badass fin. So these guys are going at it with each other. Namor at one point is just like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he grabs the freaking evil eye, and he's like, Captain America got the last hit. And he's like, F this, I'm out. And he starts running away. He goes and he jumps into he goes to jump into the sea. Captain America flips his shield upside down, throws it, makes it land upside down on Namor, so the concave part is on Namor's chest. Namor goes and lands on the freaking, and it goes stomp, and he's just like belly flops hard. Now this mofo can stand the depths of the Marianas Trench. All right? Granted, if there's a whole bunch of people with swords, as we saw in the earlier Defenders issues, he's just like, oh, I'm not wearing armor. I don't need to be out here and get hit by swords. Those things will cut me. You know, like he actually says that. He's like, my armor isn't, I can withstand the pressure, the depths of the Marianas Trench, but those swords and those trained hands, they're going to cut me up. So let me just try and avoid this stuff. And he got away, right? So he's got really good armor. But it's not like the Hulk's armor. So he goes and he lands. He's just, oh, and he's hurt. And I freaking love it. Oh, I love this. So Captain America jumps into the water with Namor. It's not that Captain America's stupid. It's that he's that good. He is genuinely that good. And Namor ain't wiping the floor with anybody in this particular case. Not with Cap. So all of a sudden, a jet of fire comes down. I'm sorry. Who farted and lit it? Right? Oh, it was Sunfire. They happen to be in Japan. The Shinto temple thing. So Sunfire comes up. He's like, I'll take this. And he starts flying away. Namor's like, screw you, Cap. I'm going after this thing. Namor's like, and he grabs onto his ankle. Now, it's not actually on the ankle wing. Otherwise, Namor wouldn't be able to fly. But he grabs onto his ankle, his leg, and he starts, flying up with him. He pulls him in. He's like, come here. Bam! And he punches him. And Namor's pissed. He's like, man, get over here. And he flips him around, holds him by his foot, and he starts yelling at him. He's like, don't you realize I'm trying to save the Black Knight? Like, this is supposed to be your teammate. You know what I'm saying? And you're doing all this stuff. And he's like, that doesn't jive with the information I got. He's like, oh, that's okay, because I don't care. And he throws him into the freaking water. Namor goes and he catches up to Shiro, I think his name is. But anyway, like Kira Shiro or something like that. But it's, Sunfire. Catches up to him, dodges his freaking energy blast, his fire blast. Boom! Kadow. After the foom. And knocks out Sunfire. The evil eye starts falling, and it lands right in Captain America's grip because he was running to go and catch up with these guys. What do you call it? So Cap starts running with this thing. Namor lands right in front of him, and he actually threatens to break Captain America. Cap isn't even worried about that stuff, but he's stopping. He's just like, okay, stop. He says, all right, Namor, I still don't understand, but that's the point. There's too much that doesn't make sense in this war between the Avengers and the Defenders. And maybe trust is the only thing that can create some sense. Kicking ass isn't Captain America's superpower, guys. Love this character. So Namor's like, okay, well, what do you suggest? He's like, let's hang out together. I'm going to give you this evil eye. All right? Go back and do what you got to do, but I'm going to come with you. Cool? He's like, get in your Quinjet and make sure you can keep up. Cat says, if your reasons for fighting aren't the same as mine, it's beginning to occur to me that we've been manipulated. Right? We have been manipulated. Namor says that does make sense. And if we have been tricked, I swear there'll be hell to pay. Defenders issue number 10 is, so this is going to be Hulk versus Thor. Now, got to be some history in this also. First time Hulk and Thor actually met was Avengers number 1, right? Where they were fighting against the Hulk, and eventually he joined the team. And he quit the team in issue number 2. In issue number 3, the Avengers have to fight against Namor and the Hulk. In that issue, technically, Thor was fighting against it, but also with Iron Man, and it was mostly Iron Man fighting with him, and Thor was off doing his own thing, it seemed like. So we didn't really get to see that. So technically, in the comic books, the first time that these guys fought was there, but, you know, they're one-on-one. But the thing is, they decided to capitalize that in Journey into Mystery with the Mighty Thor, issue number 112. 12 is an interesting number, issue number 112 here, because the comic book was only 12 cents. So in this particular comic book, Journey into Mystery, issue number 112, Thor and Hulk fight, but it's a recap. Thor is just flying and he sees these two kids, or these two groups of kids fighting in the street. There's no internet or Reddit or anything like that, or Twitter back then. So you used to get in the streets with posters or billboards, whatever, of their favorite hero's face. It'd be like, Hulk would wipe the floor with Thor. No, Thor would whoop his butt. Oh, what is he without the hammer? Shut up. You know, like, so these guys would actually get into it with each other, and they were fighting each other in the street, and Thor flies up and he sits down with them and starts having a conversation with them. And he's just like, let me recount the one time that we actually did fight. And it's an extended version of what happened in the Avengers issue number 3. It says that while everybody was doing what they were doing, there was a moment where just the Hulk and just Thor were fighting each other. It's actually really good. This issue, Journey to Mystery, issue number 112, I highly recommend reading it. Thor is going at it with Hulk. Hulk is trying to lift his hammer for the second time. He can't. Mind you, the Hulk is strong enough to actually pick up, because we've seen it. He is strong enough to actually pick up Mjolnir. But the enchantment doesn't say you have to be worthy to pick it up. Now, you can just be strong and pick it up. You have to be worthy to be able to have the power of Thor and use the hammer. Thor, what do you call it? Hulk ain't picking that hammer up and using it like he would. You know, no. He's just, okay, deadlift, I dropped it. I'm good. I did it, though. You saw that, right? Chalked up my hands and everything, right? That's all he's doing. In this, there's going to be some people out there who are going to be pissed at me for saying that. The problem is, it's in the comics. So, in this, they actually show the extended fight. And Hulk actually says, you know, I can't lift the hammer. You're nothing without a hammer. Meanwhile, Hulk is twice the size of Thor. Thor goes and prays to his father, Odin, who's always drinking something, man. I gotta find out what that is. It looks good. I don't drink, so whatever. So he's like, Father, can you remove the curse for me of, you know, because at the time it was, if you aren't touching the hammer for more than 60 seconds, you revert back to Dr. Donald Blake, and you're lame, and you got to stay. The hammer turns back into a stick, you know. So he's like, Father, this is a great epic, and I haven't been able to test myself in forever. Can you delay the test for just 5 minutes? I was like, sure, son. Love you. Have fun. So, yeah, be back before dark or 5 minutes. So Thor actually gets to toss the hammer. This fight is still a little bit disappointing. Why? Because the fight is still over the hammer. He goes and tosses the hammer away. Thor's like, ooh, well, and Hulk is like, ooh, well, then I'll take it. But he can't. But at the same time, it's like, shoot, if he gets my hammer, like when it turns back, like then what? And so they're still fighting over the hammer the whole time. So it's kind of a letdown, but this is the first it's a recap, but it is the first full fight between Thor and the Hulk. Just pointing that out there. Journey into Mystery issue number 112. Okay, so back to this fight, which is the first in-time real fight between the Hulk and Thor, but it's the second time that they're meeting and fighting, for reals, for really reals. What do you call it? Hulk finds this thing by ripping up a piece of the street, the evil eye. Thor lands, immediately gets socked by the Hulk, like a full-on, like Sunday best wallop. The thing would be proud. Ben Grimm throws him, slams him into a wall, and he gets to eat hammer in his chest for response for that. He's like, ow! And these two start going at it back and forth, tearing at the street, punching each other's fists. Hulk goes and grabs Thor's cape. Reminds me of the Batman, Superman, Public Enemies. God, I really want to watch that again. Gotta watch that with the kids. The kids would love that. Boys. So they start fighting over the hammer again. Thor goes and he gets, landed at some point. The hammer goes and falls right near the Hulk. Hulk grabs it and then boom, ow, I'm not able to lift this thing. And Thor goes and cracks him a couple times, grabs the hammer. Hulk is getting pissed. Thor has the capability of going into a warrior berserker mode also. Even though it's not as powerful as what the Hulk does, it's still pretty tough, and Thor's a badass. So these two are going at it with each other, and they actually start, a contest of strength. Thor's got his hammer trying to hit him. What do you call it? Hulk's got him like that. Hulk's like this, and he, so he's holding him like that. Like that. Hulk's over here trying to punch him. Thor grabs onto that arm, like that, and they're both of them are looking like this. One of them is greener than the other, and going out with each other and sweating. And all of a sudden, the Avengers show up. It's like, hey, will you guys freaking chill already? So we're gonna flip over to the next issue. Actually, no, same book, but it's chapter 10, and we're gonna look at an hour in the past where Silver Surfer returns. There's 3 pieces, or 4 pieces already here for the Evil Eye. The Defenders got all 4 pieces. Doctor Strange's like, okay, I'm gonna go get mine, I guess, or no, yeah, whatever. We're almost done. Just waiting on Submariner and Hulk to come by. Submariner comes back. He's like, hey, I brought guests, and the Avengers show up. Strange right away can't trust anything. He's like, if you brought our enemies here, I'm gonna have to hurt them, and then I'm gonna whoop your ass, man, and try it. Namor's like, will you freaking chill out? I have vital news, jackass. And he goes and explains. Recaps what's going on and says, hey, listen, so Cap and I were talking, then we went and gathered the rest of the Avengers. They believe that they've been tricked, and they think that we might have been tricked also. It's something that we should probably consider. What do you think? So they're discussing it over, they're apologizing with each other, blah, 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 whatever. It is what it is. Cap is such a freaking hero. He's going up and patching up things with between Vision, Scarlet Witch, and Silver Surfer. Surfer's like, man, I didn't realize that this stuff happened and whatnot. And everybody's mostly getting along until Hawkeye pipes up, and he starts pissing off Iron Man and pissing off the Swordsman. Swordsman starts pissing everybody else off also, but it's mostly Hawkeye just being Hawkeye, right? Moron, learn how to read a room. Try and get a bullseye in reading the room, jerk face. So anyway, they all decide they're going to work together, and that's when they all show up and they meet up with Thor and the Hulk, and they explain stuff. Hulk's kind of pissed because he really wanted to get into a fight, but it is what it is. Punches straight, feels better about himself. Surfer hands over, or what do you call it? Hulk goes and hands over his piece. Namor already handed his. So they've all got their pieces of the evil eye, and they connect it. And as soon as they do, Atto, what's this stupid thing's name? Asti, Asti, Asti. This thing shows up. It's Dormammu's hand servant. It's like his messenger or something like that, as seen in Strange Tales issue number 144. 144 from Roy Thomas. Roy, you're awesome, man. I love you to death, dude. So immediately the dark dimension starts seeping into the realms. People start turning into monsters and demons. It's almost like X-Men Inferno. No mailboxes attack each other, though, so there's that. Anyway, and that's going to conclude this issue. Defenders, issue number 118. Avengers number 118. They're seeing all the stuff going on, and Doctor Strange and Captain America are yelling at each other. Doctor Strange is like, we got to go, we got to handle Dormammu. And Captain America's like, we can't just leave these people here, though, because they can probably be turned back if we're able to stop Dormammu. But so if we just, kill all these guys or let them get killed by fighting each other, well, then we're talking about a bunch of actual humans who are going to die once we're able to save the day. It's sound, but Doctor Strange is ultimately right. But Cap needs somebody to help them out. Well, no problem. Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up. Nick Fury got wounded sometime before that. It's fine. And this was in a recent issue of Captain America the Falcon, which at the time, why didn't we talk about the other comics that were out during this time? Whatever. There were comic books that were out during this time. It was not too long before Giant Size X-Men number 1. It was not too terrible. It was like what? The X-Men were actually bi-monthly at this point. Once every 2 months, the issues would come out. But I believe this was around issue number 87 or so, if I remember correctly. So anyway, it was like issue number 91, 92 is when the X-Men lineup changed, right? It was issue number 92, I think. But Giant Size X-Men number 1 came out right before that, clearly. So, yeah. Captain Faria and all that crap. And, yeah. Anyway, basically Krakoa more than anything else. So anyway, these guys, they show up at S.H.I.E.L.D. and was like, we're going to handle this, and we're going to, phasers on stun or something. And Cap's like, okay, fine. Let's go to, let's go to the Dark Dimension. So you get up there, there's the big path, and Doctor Strange is like yelling at everybody, and people are like pissed off, and their morale is sinking and whatnot because Doctor Strange is so abrasive and such an absolute freaking jerk. He's a sod. We're gonna get British. I think that's how you use that word. And but Thor's being the bigger man. He's like, relax, all young mortals. Like, yeah, he's a butt face, but he's right. We can't leave this path. We can't do all these things because Thor's talking about, we should fly and get to where we're going a little bit faster. Dormammu's got the evil eye and he's doing all this stuff, and he imprisons Loki because Loki's like, hey, can I get healed now? He's like, so the second that I got my hands on the evil eye, I realized that you betrayed me. And he puts him in a prison. He's like, by the way, I wasn't going to freaking help you anyway, you dummy. I can't believe you stuck around all this time. Well, Uatu the Watcher shows up. That's how you know this is a real Marvel event. How you doing? And when he shows up, freaking Dormammu's like, hey, are you going to interfere? No, I promise not to interfere. It's like, okay, don't interfere. And the Watchman interfered. No, the Watcher does not interfere in this at all. He actually doesn't interfere in the slightest. So the heroes are trying to get to Dormammu as quickly as they possibly can. They get assaulted by some brainless or the mindless ones, which I love the mindless ones. What great fodder, right? They're having some trouble and they combine their efforts and fire and they freaking destroy these mindless ones. That's all right. They're mindless. It doesn't matter. They're essentially non-sentient. So they're showing really quickly what's going on Earth. All these demons and the heroes are showing up all over the place to try and stop things. Of course, Doctor Doom is handling Latveria, right? They have Count Dracula in this also, which is sick, right? Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan putting together some of the best work in storytelling ever that just mostly went unacknowledged for the longest time, right? Especially by today's standard. Adam Warlock. Thanos even is on Titan fighting back the hordes of psycho demons because of the onslaught of the Dark Dimension. So anyway, the Avengers show up and they're like, we're gonna kick some butt, but the running Avengers get blasted by Dormammu. He turns the ground into quicksand. All of the non-flying characters get sucked up immediately. What's her name? Except for Vision. He, for some reason, he just wasn't responding fast enough. Don't worry, he'll be asked about this later. Scarlet Witch uses a probability hex conjunction to cause herself to fly just a little bit, kind of like, a repulsor to make herself fly back. So she doesn't get caught up, but Vision does. She's yelling, just turn intangible and come up here, but Vision is actually panicking. That's what's interesting. So half the Avengers are completely taken out of this freaking thing. Dormammu uses his powers coupled with the evil eye and turns Thor back into Donald Blake and turns Iron Man, gets rid of his armor, and Tony Stark falls to the ground. He had a secret identity at the time. That was a big deal, potentially. So Scarlet Witch is like, oh, am I the only one left? Well, I guess I'm going to have to be enough. Well, all these strange reality manipulations start happening. She's turned into like a mud and stuff like that. Like, it's really weird, the stuff that what's his face is doing. But Dormammu is confused at this point, so Loki does the spell that causes him the most pain and drains him the most and turns himself into an animal, specifically an insect, a little like horsefly or whatever, and flies out and is able to get away. Runs up behind Dormammu. Not exactly a BJJ move here, but he grabs onto the evil eye and starts like trying to put him in a choke or something. The first blast that Wanda didn't really do much, but the second blast that she does, mind you, she's the only Avenger or Defender still capable at this particular junction. She fires a second hex bolt at Dormammu and hits his energy form. Right? She hits him, but he has his energy form up. He goes crazy with the freaking evil eye. He gets absorbed into the evil eye. While the evil eye is falling, it brushes over Loki. Loki is now able to see, but unfortunately, it drove him crazy, having the essence of Dormammu fly through him as it has. The Watcher's just like, hey, everybody, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. How you doing? Hey, real quick, Vision, why'd you freeze up like a little bitch? Don't be offended, by the way. He's just like, what? Honestly, I don't understand it myself how this happened. I just really don't. Well, honesty, it's a good thing. Watch just like, you guys did good. I'm gonna send you guys back home. Strange, you take them back home. You do what you gotta do. Strange gets back. He's got the freaking evil eye at this point. He goes and erases Nick Fury's memory so that he erases. First off, he already erased the Avengers' memories, so they don't remember the secret identity of Thor and Iron Man. That was nice of them. Erases Nick Fury's mind, so he doesn't know what's going on. All of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then he even erases the mind of, or at least parts of the mind of all of the people on Earth. He actually tells Captain America, this is what I want to do. And he's like, well, I guess I can't stop you, so, whatever. But he lets the Avengers keep their mind. The eraser that he does for the people on Earth is, I don't want you to remember that the Defenders even exist. We have to operate in the shadows, all right? Got to be a shadow organization, not like the Avengers out in the public. So he causes everybody to forget about the existence of the Defenders. And not that big of a deal, but still, it's kind of fuss. Don't mess with other people's minds, kids. So they go over to help out the Black Knight. First, Doctor Strange sends his astral form out there, but Black Knight is gone. He's like, what the freak, man? And he comes back. He's like, he's gone. And then somehow, once he comes back with the evil eye, they wind up getting teleported into Avalon, or something like Avalon, basically like the Knights of the Round Table. Essentially, actually not really, but the Arabs are attacking. Like, kill the infidels, kill them. So it's back in our normal time, but our normal time does have King Arthur and what do you call it, the Knights of the Round Table, Sir Lancelot, and especially Morgan Le Fay, right? And Merlin, especially Merlin also. So all these characters actually exist where they get sent back in this particular time. Black Knight's been fighting for weeks. That's actually kind of interesting. And all of a sudden, T-Max, the Knoll, shows up, the gnome, who's just, they're not able to stop him, blah, blah, blah. All this other stuff is happening. Anyway, this comic book really goes on for a bit, and it's fine, but it's the Avengers Defenders War is mostly over. They're just trying to get to the end where Prester John shows up and reclaims the evil eye, sends the Defenders back, says that Black Knight would actually probably rather stay here, and he does. He would rather, so he stays. We don't see what happens to him, but he gets to stay behind. And meanwhile, the Defenders completely separate again. Zemnu is going to be in the next issue of the Defenders, so that's fun. But for, all intents and purposes, this was fun. Oh, issue number 166 was the Incredible Hulk comic book, also 20 cents, where Hawkeye shows up and has to fight against Zax, the living computer monster thingy. So anyway, that. This was the Avengers Defenders War. Sorry, I'm getting so tired right now. I'm starting to get a little bit foggy and whatnot, but this was just absolutely amazing storytelling for all intents and purposes. So many other stories, while not completely biting or ripping off of this story, have completely bitten and ripped off this story. This was amazing storytelling, really good art all throughout. I highly recommend you guys go out and get this book, add this omnibus or this trade paperback of these together, because this really is a key moment in the comic books. And I do look forward to one of these days having this play out on the big screen. I think that would be absolutely amazing. They'll probably change it around a lot, but there's so much else that you can do with this story, and I would really like to see that being done. Guys, that's it for me. Please don't forget to go down and check the book that I made, Puzzles and Perils, a book of riddles for fantasy RPGs. This is going to be a really fun book, and if you play any kind of RPG, I'm not going to say this is going to be crucial for you, but yeah, it will, absolutely. Unless you want to go and make your own riddles, without the guidance of me showing you how to make riddles in the book. But it is what it is. Go out and grab this book from the Kickstarter once September 1st rolls around, and check out that early bird special, right? After that, guys, thanks for showing up, and I'll talk to you later. Like the video, watch an ad. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.